ithuba lokuthandaza ngesitu noma ukuzidla. Siyathokoza ningahlala phasi. The secretary will read the order of the day.
Debate on vote number 35, Transport Appropriation Bill.
Ke tlo bitsa yaanong tona ya tsa dinamelwa Re Mbalula gore bulela debate.
Long live Ashley Kriel, long live. Long live Ashley Kriel, long live. Honorable House Chairperson, Ashley Kriel was born and bred here in the Western Cape, the young lion of the African National Congress, the young lion of Ponte Yevel, trained Umkhonto Wesizwe soldier, member of the Cape Youth Congress, trained in Angola, Kibashe, and today marks 32 years since he passed on. And as we stand here, we say long live to Ashley Kriel on this special occasion. Honorable House Chair, Honorable Deputy Minister of Transport, Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Transport Chair, Mr. Msevenzi Zwane, Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable members of Parliament, MECs present, Acting Director General of Transport and DDGs present, chairpersons and CEOs and board members of transport entities, our guests in the gallery, fellow South Africans. As children growing up in dormitory townships away from the glamour of city lights, we were in awe of the allure of the transport industry. Prospects of a young township child becoming a pilot, let alone a seafarer, was a pipe dream that was a preserve of the privilege. One of the most stubborn challenges confronting us is the transformation of the transport sector and our ability to position it in a way that makes it responsive to our national goals. The challenges are many, the barriers to entry are high, and those who continue to benefit from the many opportunities it provides are few. Breaking the back of the legacy of our painful past starts with decimating its roots and making deliberate interventions to open up the industry to all South Africans, with particular bias towards historically disadvantaged individuals, women, and the youth. Aviation and maritime sectors remain the exclusive preserve of the privileged few. While we are encouraged by individuals and corporate citizens who take steps to usher in transformation in their respective subsectors, these interventions remain a drop in the ocean. Through government programs that include skills interventions, opening up of economic opportunities and direct participation, we will ensure that the winds of change touch every sector in transport. Members may have followed the news reports about the first woman who has qualified as a boat builder, Ms. Kandra Shanice Pedro, who hails from Ponte Hevel, here in Cape Town. I understand that this time next year, they will have succeeded in making a significant contribution to the transformation of the maritime industry. We are also making significant inroads in producing future industry leaders, and I'm told that Ms. Tembeka Taboshe, who is the first master mariner of her age in South Africa, is in the public gallery with Ms. Pedro as special guest of the minister. Through deliberate interventions to develop and grow our own shipping industry, will undoubtedly produce many like them. To address the slow pace of transformation in the civil aviation sector, the South African Civil Aviation Authority launched a bursary scheme to create opportunities for young black and deserving learners to study towards becoming pilots. aircraft mechanics. The pilot cadet program recently funded 5 students who are currently studying in France for a frozen airline transport pilot license. I have pleasure in introducing 2 of the students studying locally who are here with us in the gallery. Ms. Dimpho Muilwa from Mahikeng in the northwest, studying towards a frozen airline transport license. And Mr. Wisani Hlungwana from Sase Lamani in Limpopo, who is studying towards aeronautical engineering degree at Wits University. Ms. Ditebuho Kwenate and Mr. Riba Marupefela, a private pilot license holder currently being trained towards a frozen ATPL. This is our pledge to direct our energies and resources towards transforming the sector in a meaningful way that benefits all our people. Chairperson, unbecoming conduct on our roads continues to bring sorrow. It continues to create widowers, and orphans. It is robbing us of the benefit of the likes of the astronaut Mandla Maseko, who perished this past weekend from a collision. This situation calls for drastic mission unusual. We have a road carnage crisis in our hands, and it is time to call it what it is, a road carnage crisis. It requires a drastic mission unusual as a response. Chairperson, our resolve to arrest the carnage on our roads has never been greater. The implementation of a 24-hour, 7-day shift structure within the traffic law enforcement fraternity has become more urgent than ever before. We must all support the measure to change traffic policing from an 8 to 5 working day and a 5-day working week to a 24-hour working day and a 7-day working week. As we take the matter to the bargaining council, we call on organized labor to work with us in supporting this intervention. Corruption has no place in our society, and we are implementing measures to deal harshly with those who conduct themselves in this manner. We will be implementing a number of measures, not only to deal harshly with traffic law enforcement officers who violate the law and undermine our efforts to enforce safety by soliciting or accepting bribes, but we will also go after those who offer or pay those bribes without mercy. Among the interventions to deal a decisive blow to lawlessness on our roads is the long-awaited implementation of the Administrative Adjudication of Road Traffic Offences Act, ARTO. Parliament has passed the ARTO Amendment Bill and is waiting assent of the President to make it law. Our President, His Excellency, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, has also mapped out the roadmap for the 6th administration, which is anchored on the 7 apex priorities. Khawuleza is the ethos that will characterize our service delivery model. Much has been achieved with progressive policies in place to transform the transport system as an enabler of social emancipation. We are now called upon to focus on our attention on accelerated implementation of these policies. This department has for a prolonged period not had a full-time Director General. This is an unacceptable state of affairs and therefore an immediate task to resolve. Similarly, the process of appointing boards where their terms have expired or where there is an interim board is progressing with equal agency. We are determined to ensure that corporate governance is strengthened in all our entities. This will be made possible by appointing to our boards men and women who are not only adequately skilled to enable sound decision-making, but also those whose commitment to improving the lives of ordinary South Africans is unflinching. Gone are the days when we recycle the same people and simply move them around different entities. We will deliberately seek out young, educated, and talented people, especially women, to infuse new energy and fresh thinking at board level. As we revise our approach to board appointments, We will similarly ensure that all boards go through a mandatory training program on corporate governance and ethics. We'll strengthen the annual appraisal of the performance of our boards and infuse strong consequence management protocols. A number of our entities do not have CEOs, and we have urged the boards to act decisively in ensuring that the recruitment of suitable CEOs is given urgent priority. These entities are the Passenger Rail Agency, PRASA, Railway Safety Regulator, Road Accident Fund, Airports Company South Africa, Air Traffic Navigation Services, South African Maritime Authority, and Ports Regulator of South Africa. Over the next 100 days, we'll demonstrate how we will accelerate service delivery across all our functional areas. This ranges from restructuring the bus subsidy system to taking advantage of our vast maritime resources. Over the medium term, the department expenditure increases at an average annual rate of 8% from 64.2 billion in 2019-2020 to 74.5 billion in 2021 to 2022. This increase is largely driven by increasing transfers to PRASA for rail rehabilitation, maintenance operations, and inventories. The overall expenditure of the department is driven by transfers to the South African National Roads Agency, SANRAL, the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, provinces and municipalities for the construction, operations, and maintenance of transport infrastructure and services. The total transfer accounts for 97.8% of the department's total budget this year. Honorable members, spending on goods and services increases at an average annual rate of 2% from 913.5 million in 2019-2020 to 934.2 million in 2021 to 2022. This is mainly due to expected increases in spending in the civil aviation program for costs related to watchkeeping services and investigations into aviation accidents and incidents. Spending on compensation of employees amounts to 1.7 billion of the department's total budget over the medium term, increasing at an average annual rate of 7% from 534.7 million in 2019-2020 to 612.2 million in 2019 to 2022. The increase is due to the implementation of job evaluation outcomes for upgrading salary levels 9 to 10 and 11 to 12 and the filling of critical posts. Honorable members, achieving seamless integration in our public transport system is an important long-term goal of our national transport policy. However, the building blocks of such integration must be implemented today, not a day after tomorrow. Equally important, our attention will focus on delivering a transport system that enables economic activity and stimulate growth by giving practical effect to our commitment to lowering the cost of doing business. This starts with eliminating delays and cancellations in our commuter rail network so that those who rely on this mode to get to places of economic activity are able to maximize their productivity by being at work on time. Economic regulation is an important lever through which we can achieve this objective, while simultaneously enabling equitable access to infrastructure and pricing that encourages healthy competition. Over the next year, we intend to introduce before the House a bill to establish a single transport economic regulator. The regulator will level the playing fields in the rail, maritime, and road sectors. Our capacity to plan for the future remains one of the pressing challenges confronting all spheres of government. Transport planning enables cities to determine transport solutions informed by their future growth prospects and escalating demand for public transport. Such planning then informs the development of infrastructure, such as integrated public transport interchanges, with a specific bias towards densifying corridors such that people live closer to centers of economic activity. Transport plans are the instruments through which cities determine public transport demand and accordingly inform the issue of operating licenses for public transport vehicles. This is important to stem oversupply, which then give rise to violence over contestation of routes. As we said earlier, we are building on the foundation of the work done by those that came before us. We are determined to ensure that the finalization and revisions of feasibility studies in relation to the 130-kilometer Moloto rail corridor between Siabuswa in Mpumalanga and Tshwane in Gauteng on the one hand, and the high-speed rail between Johannesburg and Durban on the other hand are prioritized. Both these projects are part of a suite of projects identified in the National Transport Master Plan 2050 that was approved by Cabinet and will be undertaken as public-private partnerships, with funding mobilized from the private sector through a number of instruments. Chairperson, commuter rail plays a critical role as an enabler of mobility across the transport system. Achieving efficiencies in rail will go a long way towards addressing challenges brought about by congestion on our road network. Honorable members, it is an open secret that PRASA has homogenized critical engineering capacity and is unable to improve its operational performance without a decisive intervention. You didn't hear the word properly. Homogenized. Do you want me to repeat again? Following a directive from the President in March this year, a decisive intervention to turn around PRASA and improve its operational performance while rebuilding its engineering capacity to drive the modernization program is in place. This will be driven through a ministerial war room, which will play an oversight and enabling role over the turnaround strategy. The ministerial war room will also guide intervention to realize three key objectives. The first objective being service recovery to focus on rolling stock availability and reliability, infrastructure availability and reliability, and train performance. Specific targets that must be realized in the next 100 days include improving on-time performance of metro rail from 73.3% to 85%. In respect of Sosholoza Mail, improve on-time arrivals from 13% to above 50%. Ensuring metro rail train set availability from the current average of 200 to 291 train sets. In respect of Sosholoza Mail, improve locomotive availability from 45% to 60%, achieve 100% correct configuration of train sets from the current 49.4%. Reduce speed restriction from the current total of 149 kilometers to less than 100 kilometers of the network under speed restrictions. The second objective is safety management, which entails putting in place effective measures to protect rolling stock, staging, yards, perway, electrical and signal infrastructure, depots, stations, and most importantly, passengers on board our trains. Integral to this is achieving full compliance with the Railway Safety Regulator permit conditions and directive. I will be engaging with the Minister of Police to look at ways we can strengthen the capacity and visibility of the railway police in the metro rail environment, so we can reverse the negative impact of rampant crime in our environment. The third objective is accelerated implementation of the modernization program. This entails urgently creating capacity for PRASA to manage capital projects and spend its capital budgets to achieve effective sequences. The ministerial war room interventions are aimed at stabilizing PRASA's operations and achieving tangible results within 100 days. while the Board of Control and Management continue to roll out intervention to ensure sustainable outcomes. Billions of rands have been invested in the implementation of integrated public transport networks and the taxi recapitalization program. During the course of this year, new phases of the IPTN will be coming on stream with buses operating in areas where there were none before. This is particularly important for our townships, which continue to bear the brunt of apartheid spatial planning. Over the next 9 months, these integrated public transport networks will be operational in 5 additional cities of Mbombela, eThekwini, Rustenburg, Polokwane, and Mangaung. Fellow South Africans, the renewal of the taxi industry through the taxi recapitalization program is also critical in ensuring an efficient and safe public transport system. Since its inception in 2006, the taxi recapitalization program has been a great success. After 14 years of implementation, with 600 old taxis having been scrapped, government undertook to review of this program. Based on this review, Cabinet approved the continuation of the revised taxi recapitalization program. Funds earmarked for the taxi recapitalization program amount to 1.3 billion over the medium term, increasing them from 434 million in 2019-20 to 483 million in 2021 to 2022. The South African National Rail Agency will spend 25 billion this year to expand and maintain the national road network. An amount of 13 billion has been earmarked for maintenance across the country, with 12 billion for capital projects with a focus on 4 flagship programs and large projects in Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Limpopo provinces. Through these projects, our target is to create 15 full-time jobs this year alone. An amount of 3.5 billion will be used to kickstart flagship projects that will have a total investment of 13 billion. This includes the N3 between Msunduzi and eThekwini and N2 in Durban, the N2 Wild Coast in the Eastern Cape province, and the Moloto Road in Limpopo, together with social infrastructure in the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, and Northwest. Our target through this project is to create 20,000 full-time jobs over the next 3 to 5 years. Yes, again, through Sanral, we will be rolling out a new model of routine road maintenance contracts in line with its transformation policy, comprising a total of 130 projects targeted. This will create 8,000 jobs per annum or over the duration of the contracts. Similarly, 66 community projects will be rolled out, totaling 3.4 billion as part of the Community Development Projects program. Fellow South Africans, we are seized with the process to find a lasting solution to the demand to scrap e-tolls in Gauteng. A task team was established, made up of the Department of Transport, Sanral, the Gauteng Province, and National Treasury to look incisively at all relevant issues and make firm recommendations. The process of engagement is still ongoing, and various options towards the resolution of this challenge are being processed by the team. The options being considered also include feasibility of mechanism through which the debt incurred in the construction of the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project can be paid. The team is working tirelessly to ensure that a final report on this matter is tabled before the President by the end of August 2019. We are mindful of the demand to scrap e-tolls and are therefore looking at solutions that will balance this demand, with the need for the country to honor its obligation insofar as the e-tolls debt is concerned. This is the reality we must all be alive to. You are not listening to me, and then you are going to talk out of 10 when I finish here. South Africa, as a coastal state, has the responsibility of managing a vast coastline. I'm addressing the issue you will be verbosing about on this platform. So listen properly. And I'm being robust about it. You are not listening, you are howling. Okay, let me conclude because you are not interested. Chairperson, It is our singular honor and pleasure to table the budget vote 35 of the Department of Transport for your consideration and adoption by this House. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We now call on the chairperson of the committee, Honorable Zwane, to take the debate forward.
Honorable House Chairperson of the session, Honorable Minister of the Department of Transport, Comrade Kriel Mbalula, Honorable Deputy Minister of the Department of Transport, Comrade Dikeledi Makazi, Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee of Transport, chairpersons and whips from other committees, honorable members who are here with us today, officials of the Department of Transport, chairpersons and CEOs of all our entities and their officials who are with us here today, media houses that are with us today, ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon to all of you. Transport is a cornerstone in all our lives, whether one does business, tourism, schooling, swimming, running, and whatever that may come to mind. Even the coming back of Bafana from the land of the Pharaohs will need transport, of course. This budget vote, like others, is a reflection of the financing of the African National Congress-led government policies, constitutional responsibilities, and international obligations. It is further informed by a 5-year medium-term strategic framework from 2014 to 2019. The priorities for the year 2019 were broadly set out in the February 2019 State of the Nation Address and were of course added in the June State of the Nation Address. Whilst the executive draft the budget, we, the legislative arm of the state, we have the oversight mandate of the budget and must approve it together with each of its votes of funds. This process of oversight, if done appropriately, will enable the African National Congress to assess whether the department and its entities has managed to implement its policies or not. So we are seized with the task to criticize, support, and to work together with the department to make sure that we deliver to all the people of South Africa. Those who have voted us into power, and also those who normally tell us as we campaign that they are not going to vote should be part of our delivery. We dare not fail the masses on this mandate because our failure in transport is a failure of all other departments to carry their mandate, whether be it in deep blue oceans or high up above the sky, because they all need a mode of transport to do their work. House Chair, it is a well-known fact that the Honorable Minister is only some few months in the department. It is here where we want him to practically use the expression fear for all, as he normally calls himself, to deal with the following challenges in the department. Our department has been working on a skeletal staff with no Director General for some time now, so we expect movement in the correction of this anomaly. We are also aware that, of course, in the absence of the full complement, the department is operating on the basis of a lot of acting, and once the above is addressed, this situation will dissipate. The department and its entities use far too many consultants, and this matter was even raised by the Auditor General in the past. Transformation seems to be Greek in this department, and most of its entities. When one considers the budget of the department and the percentages that goes to Africans in particular. The Gauteng e-toll issue must be attended to with the agency it deserves, and all the best to the minister in dealing with this matter. Single integrated transport system must follow the meaning of khawuleza and ensure that the system the tensions that normally arises between the owners of public transport is a thing of yesterday. The Honorable Minister's leadership on the speeding up of the Road Accident Fund bill will help all of us before the victims of the accidents in this country bleeds to death. Our people, the poor masses in this instance, are robbed daylight by those who follow accidents and make them sign on hospital beds and vanish with their money. We need to ensure that our people, the correct beneficiaries, are able to claim direct from the fund without any hiccups. South Africans are dying in numbers on roads. I'm sure everybody knows this, and we must stop it. Most of our boards, including PRASA, are operating, as the minister have said, on temporary board members, and that does not bring stability in this all-important sector. And to make matters worse, some of these temporary board members, instead of focusing on what they must do, they are busy paging each other. PRASA must khawuleza in implementing projects like the Mloto Rail, fix the problems that led to the president to stuck in a train during our election trail, find a lasting solution on the banning of trains in the Western Cape, implement the bullet train to cover all the provinces that were mentioned by the Honorable President. I'm sure the President just forgot to mention Free State in his speech. So as you implement, Honorable Minister, ensure that you don't forget this. Transformation still has to see daylight in entities like maritime transport and civil aviation. And we do not have any doubt that the minister will be able to fix this horrible situation. House Chair, due to time constraints, we are still to meet all the entities in the department. We are ready to support those who are doing their best, like the cross-border operations, SANRAL, civil aviation, and maritime transport, to mention but a few, to deal with legislation hiccups and other challenges from our side. The African National Congress says now is the time to ensure action, not lip service. We in this portfolio committee, we are here just for that. Watch the space. We support the budget vote. Siyabonga, Rialebo.
Siyathokoza mhlonishwa. Siyobiza manje umhlonishwa Hasinga of the DA to take the debate forward.
Honourable Chair, allow me to thank all our protection and emergency officers and staff all over the country. Never before have we been exposed to such high levels of risk and violence directed against citizens and infrastructure in South Africa. At the beginning of this 6th Parliament, two reality departure points matter, and they are the repeated phrase during SONA that the detail will come, and a 4th appointed transport minister in just 3 years. For the transport sector, this is the moment where the detail on change, improvements and new direction should flourish and not be contested with so many factors which interrupt, undermine, and disinvest particularized goals and scope for progress. The Democratic Alliance and Team Transport will be constructive in contributing drivers of the needed change to improve mobility in South Africa. Meaningful ideas of all my predecessors will not go lost, since we have studied and filtered out the best ideas from the past 5 terms. We have gained, Minister, not Facebook, but face-to-face knowledge and understanding from technical experts, listened to sector specialists and stakeholders like the taxi, bus, train, and truck drivers, have built relationships which I, together with my team, will remain connected to and expand. 3 burning aspects with a common factor clearly stand out: the protection of our transport users, assets, and funding. Users pay for a ride with a ticket or fuel, and they need to feel safe. Needs which should be acted upon instead of explaining why over 640 million rand wasn't spent in the 2018-19 financial year by this department. A reform essentials in mobility, the DA will promote regular joint committee meetings between transport and police. This will provide a platform to engage on the current unacceptable levels of violence against users and the destruction of infrastructure. With more than 1.3 billion rand not being spent by the police in 2018-19, we most certainly do have a couple of suggestions on how to protect our people, trucks, buses, trains, motorists, and infrastructure. We will push for the merging of Transnet and PRASA, since more than R1 billion is exchanged every year between the 2 entities. This while they both use the same rail lines, same platforms, and signal equipment, yet cross-invoice each other when everything belongs to the same government. By saving R1 billion every year, the DA could have purchased 250 train sets and enough railway lines to build the Moloto Rail. However, reality links to fact that not a single meter of rail track was purchased over the last 5 years. We remain adamant and determined that the DA-led Western Cape should run Metro Rail. We will apply pressure to merge all controllers like the Railway Safety Regulator and others directly under the Department of Transport. The dependency on income through licenses and fines compromise their function, and millions of rands can be saved in this way. A rand spent should be a rand improvement. We cannot pay for stuff which never finds purpose, let alone collapse. Therefore, the DA will promote the establishment of a National Transport Infrastructure Inspectorate to mitigate risks of all public bridges, walkways, platforms, and stations. A specialized audit-like regulator with inspectors to control everything from tender specifications to maintenance terms. Given the growing number of entities with escalating fiscal risk to our economy, year by year, less value end up in tangible improvement that benefit the very people who provided the funding. A drastic change in mindset is required to acknowledge the public as customers and not as a convenient bailout partner when things do not work out. The financially burdened road accident fund can be fixed by amendments to the current act, including the concerning occurrences of greedy practitioners. The DA will soon present 15 recommendations on how to immediately stop the financial bleeding of this ill-managed administration. Our position on the lapsed RABS bill in its current form remain unchanged because the already ballooned fuel levy cannot be burdened with a dual compensation system. It is also immoral to indemnify the wrongdoer and unconstitutional to deny someone the right of access to common law. Instead of hawking RABs to justify undersettlement, lawless behavior on our roads should be pursued. Less deaths and injuries will naturally, over time, result in less claims. In summary, We are looking forward to this term as an opportunity to make mobility count as catalyst to fix and improve our economy. Make the DA count as a driver of reform essentials and every citizen count as a valuable beneficiary towards establishing one South Africa for all. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Hasinga. Honorable Noluchungu from the EFF.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, we have a crisis of accidents in our roads. A collision between a minibus and a bus on the R81 near Mapale village in Mapani district last month claimed 40 lives. 6 other people were bent beyond recognition and died on the same stretch of road at Dingamanzi village between Giyani and Polokwane. In the next week, 2 people were killed and 8 others injured when a taxi crashed in a tree off the R600 in Winterton in KwaZulu-Natal. In the Western Cape, 3 people died in Rossonville Way Bridge when a car crossed over the white lines and collided head-on with a correctional services car. Death by transport accident is number 3 on the top 5 unnatural causes of death. Let's call for a multi-stakeholder summit and look at international best practices to do something about the killings in our roads. In Moloto Road, the road that connects Swane and Kangala region in Mpumalanga, we don't have to wait for a summit. We must install speed humps every 3 kilometers and every kilometer in 33 communities and 57 along the Moloto Road. Road accidents are not going to be stopped by you wearing traffic official uniforms and standing on the side of the road for pictures for social media and grandstanding. There must be a deliberate, systematic, and practical solutions. The purpose of this mini plenary is an opportunity to debate transport proposed budget. However, we cannot debate the transport budget without fully understanding the backlog and true budget deficit. What is the true backlog and budget deficit? We have more than 350 kilometers of unpaved roads in South Africa. This will cost more than 700 billion. This is almost half of South Africa's current budget. Only 48% of metro rail carriage are available for service. The rest are old, poorly maintained, broken, or bent. SANRAL has a list of more than 373 bridges registered as planned and cannot tell us by when these will be finished, let alone how much it will cost. PRASA has just over 1,000 trained drivers and needs 979 in the next 5 years, trained and employed. But for a state-owned company that cannot barely pay salaries, this is not going to happen. The budget of 64 billion that we're expected to debate on proves our point that the ruling party cannot possibly reimagine our society in a more equal, spatially transformed and functioning spaces. But to begin to reimagine our society through transforming transport and public transport, we must first get the land back. We must amend Section 25 of the Constitution to have all the land in the custody of the state. Let's expand the railways, buy new trains and invest in affordable speed trains along Moloto Road between Swane and Kangala, between Soweto and Johannesburg, between Musina, Johannesburg, between Johannesburg and Cape Town, and most importantly, between Johannesburg and Durban to transport people and goods that come from the harbor. Let's retain and expand the state ownership of central transport and logistic modes such as Transnet, PRASA, and establish shipping manufacturing company. South Africa must start to play a meaningful and broader role in transforming the maritime industry, build ships, and create jobs. Let's allow students to travel for free on public transport, provided they carry their student cards. We must provide free transport to all pensioners, people living with disabilities, and orphans to get to and from social grants pay points. Let's provide safe and accessible transport for persons with disabilities. Let's incentivize and encourage innovation and use of technology to grow transport, aerospace, drones, and create jobs. Let's allow use of labor absorbing construction methods to build quality roads for all communities. Let's explore a practical way in which the state can help the taxi industry financially to protect and promote efficient public transport. We know that there is no money that is immediately available to do all these. That is why we are proposing a build, operate, and transfer model without user fee unless users are already paying for that service. Let us get rid of consultants whose budget for the 2019-20 has increased from 266 million to 462 and build state capacity. Our people in Gauteng have rejected the e-tolls. The political squabbles between the Minister of Finance and the Premier of Gauteng is nothing but a sideshow. The call by the President for the Minister of Transport, Minister of Finance and Gauteng to bring a proposal to resolve the e-toll standoffs is a waste of time. While you are busy with the report that you are going to table in Cabinet, make a public announcement that e-tolls are cancelled. As EFF, we also want to condemn the xenophobic attacks on the truck drivers that leads to torching of trucks on our highway. EFF rejects this budget. I thank you.
Sithokoze Mhlonishwa. Mhlonishwa Store waka IFP.
Honorable Chairperson, since the dawn of democracy, the IFP and South African have been calling for development and reform in this sector. Unfortunately, the ANC-led government does not see this sector as a strategic mechanism to drive South Africa GDP. Rather, the current government commitment is to use the sector to pay into pocket of their comrades. Recently, the Road Accident Benefit Scheme bill was introduced and pushed through by the ruling party, gave the minister another method of road state resources. With the constant rise of fuel, e-tolls in Gauteng are adding to the financial strain of South Africans and automatically discourage the productivities. Premier Makura has promised Premier Makura has promised to remove e-tolls. Further, he did not propose any actual timelines to achieve this. His efforts were further diminished as the Minister of Finance has no willing to fast-track this change because he is not transformed. The lack of alternative means of transportation pins South Africans into a tenor corner whereby we are forced to use e-tolls and pay the ridiculous high rate to use it. Metro Range is not an alternative. We cannot currently rely on the road network, as it is one of the worst managed and police systems in this country. Daily people face uncertainty so whether they will come home safe or get home before nightfall. It is a system that, through its uncertainty of services and efficiency, places people in danger on and off the network. It also forces people to be late for work, which results in the loss of productivity and loss of wages. With the current unreliable public transportation system, people are forced to make use of the road network. The road network, as a result, is in danger, huge pressure to accommodate high level of traffic. Currently, the department is failing to ensure that the safety of road users as South African experiences and unacceptable, a high level of death on the roads. The department itself has been failing to achieve its target, which simply means money has been wasted and no efficiency used. Government wants to increase tax and further burden taxpayers. And when they do not deliver, they simply ask for more money without consequences. This must come to an end. South African and the IP feel that transport sectors need reform and development that drives South Africa GDP, ensure safety, security, and promise efficiency. The IP called for the Premier, together with the Minister of Transport, to immediately scrap e-tolls in order to speed up and encourage the product of our GDP. Furthermore, the state must heavily invest on a massive transportation network for inner city and the inner city and the inner city transportation. This network must be affordable, efficient, and safe. It must be placed on the primary agenda of development of the state and be corrupt, corruption, and patronage free. In the meantime, the department must ensure that all current transportation systems are safe and that they reach 95% of its efficiency before the next annual budget vote. Finally, we set a target for this department to reduce road fatalities by 50% during the December festive period. In order to achieve this, the department must work to reduce potholes and unsafe road infrastructure. It must cooperate with the police to clamp down on drug drivers and roadworthy cars and taxis. The IFP to support this budget vote number 35.
Sithokoze mhlonishwa. Volgens order. Volgens achtbare lid mee van die FF+.
Ja. Voorsitter, ons almal in Suid-Afrika begeer 'n ekonomie wat groei. Die slaghaar van 'n ekonomie van enige land is sy vervoerstelsel. 'n Goeie vervoerstelsel dra daartoe by dat die ekonomie vinnig groei. Die sterkste ekonomie in die wêreld beskik oor die beste openbare vervoer. Ek het in 1997 die geleentheid gehad toe ek as lid van die Metropolitaanse Vervoerraad in die Nelson Mandela Bay 'n besoek gehad het aan Hong Kong, Singapore en Bangkok. Op daardie studietoer het ek 2 dinge geleer. Die een is dat 'n moderne ekonomie soos Singapore het seker een van die modernste vervoerstelsels gehad. Hulle waarborg vir jou, daar waar jy van die trein afklim, 100 meter verder is daar 'n bus of 'n taxi. Ek besef Suid-Afrika is nie in daai posisie nie, want afstand gewys is dit baie moeilik om dit hier te handhaaf. Maar wat van so 1,5-2 kilo sal dit nie dalk werk nie. Toe ons terugkeer, 2 dae voordat ons terugkeer na Suid-Afrika, het ons 'n vergadering gehad en 90% van die persone wat teenwoordig was, het my baie teleurgestel. Want hulle het gesê die stelsel sal nie werk in Suid-Afrika nie, omdat daar nie dissipline in Suid-Afrika is nie. Hulle was versiene. Ek kon dit nie glo nie en ek wou dit nie glo nie. Ons sal ons polisieering moet opknap. Ons sal moet kyk, as ek kyk na in die Wes-Kaap, die geweldige skade wat gelei is as gevolg van die brandende treine. Ek wil vir die een ding sê, dit is moeilik vir my om te sê, want ek weet hoe kwaad word ons vir taksies. Maar sonder die taksies in Suid-Afrika is daar geen openbare vervoerstelsel nie. Verstedeliking vind plaas en 70% van die mense gaan in die toekoms in en om die stede bly. Die groei van informele nedersettings gaan toeneem en hulle gaan verder en verder wegbeweeg van die stede. 'n Opname het getoon in 2014 dat slegs 30% van die huishoudings in Suid-Afrika oor motors beskik. Die res moet van openbare vervoer gebruik maak. Om dit te kan bereik, sê ek vir julle, is dit baie belangrik dat ons mense het met kundigheid en kennis. Ek het 'n tyd gelede, 'n paar jaar terug gelees, dat hulle gesê het 'n ingenieur is nie 'n kenner van openbare vervoer nie. Dit vereis verdere studie. Ek is oortuig daarvan in my hart vandag dat die universiteite in Suid-Afrika aandag daaraan sou gegee het. Meneer die voorsitter, jammer. Ja, mevrou voorsitter, die vraag is by my, is daar oplossings vir die openbare vervoerstelsel? Ja, daar is. Ek glo dit vas. Maar nou wil ek vir u sê, die grootste verrassing vir my was in Bangkok. Ons het die oggend gewag vir die eerste spreker om ons te kom toespreek, want daar het hulle 'n bo-grondse treinstelsel gebou. Groot was die verrassing toe die persone ons in Afrikaans groet. 'n Ingenieursmaatskappy van Johannesburg wat in die hoof gestaan het van die bou van daardie treinstelsel. Ons beskik oor die kennis. Ons moet ophou om teen mekaar te werk in hierdie land, maar vir mekaar werk. Dan sal Suid-Afrika suksesvol wees. Ek noem een voorbeeld. Daar waar ek in die Oos-Kaap woon, is daar nog geleenthede. Ons moenie wag dat daar 'n krisis ontstaan nie. Baie het al gedink daaraan, maar niemand het dit nog werklik gesê nie. 'n treinstelsel vanaf Uitenaag, Dispatch, Port Elizabeth, terug in die rigting van die noordelike gebiede, verby Bettelsdorp, Jones Slowville, teenoor KwaNobuhle, tot by die provinsiale hospitaal, terug na die Uitenaagstasie. Ek dink dit sal die suksesvolste stelsel in Suid-Afrika wees. En dit sal nie die kostes wees wat van 'n goudtrein nie, want jy sal nie hoef ondergrondse kostes aan te gaan nie, en boogrond sal minimaal wees. Ons het al gaan kyk daarse. Die verste wat persone sal stap, is ongeveer 1,5 kilometer na die trein toe. Kom ons staan saam in belang van Suid-Afrika, en ek wil vandag vir u sê, soos my leier Dr. Pieter Groenewald gesê het, ons moet werk in belang van Suid-Afrika en sy mense. Laat ons vir mekaar werk en nie teen mekaar nie. Dankie, voorsitter.
Baie dankie, achtbare lid my. The next speaker is Honorable Deputy Minister of Transport, Honorable Makazi.
Igama lamakhosikazi. Manani mutshami wa xitulu, manani Borotho, Holobye enkulu ya ta vutleketli la Afrika-Dzonga Tatane Mbalula, Re Msebenzi Dzwani modula situlo wa komiti le maloko a komiti ya tsa dinamelwa, ministers, deputy ministers, honorable members of this august house, acting shadow minister, I forgot. You'll remain a shadow of yourself anyway. Acting Director General of the Department of Transport, DDGs, chairpersons and CEOs of state-owned entities, our guests in the gallery, Zulapo, Africa Chipembe, and Kondiresha. We are celebrating Nelson Mandela Month, a revolutionary son of South Africa. This is what the United Nations has indicated to all of us that we celebrate. We are committed and need to remind you that transformation of our country has been in the lips of the ANC and in the actions of the African National Congress as we get to develop South Africa. The President, Nelson Mandela, in his electoral mandate of a better life for all, which we are now carrying forward to grow South Africa together with all of us, had always indicated that, and I quote, our people want change, and change is what they are going to get. Our people have got high expectations which are legitimate. While the government cannot meet this overnight, we must put firmly into place concrete goals, time frames, and strategies to achieve this close quote. These are the words which were said by President Nelson Mandela, and I think that these words rings and sounds very clear as we develop our strategic plans, as we make sure that the 5-year plans of the Department of Transport are in place. The 7 Apex priorities and the National Development Plan force us to return to the important dictates of the Constitution that implores us to improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person. The amending review and at times the complete overhaul of legislation as part of the transformation of the state has become essential in unlocking the potential in the transport sector. As a capable and developmental state, we need to fast-track transformation, particularly in building progressive systems, while we are further implored to infuse in every system the social cohesion, development, and economic growth as desired by our people. Martin Luther King said, if you cannot fly, run. If you cannot run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep on moving forward, close quote. Today, as the Department of Transport, and in particular our state-owned enterprises, we are implored to fly or to run. And this will be supervised by Mr. Fixit. With the severity and the urgency, it has become imperative that we run or we fly to achieve the ideals, to implement all the programs as put forward in our strategic plans. Cheers. The ANC talks about the developmental state and our commitment to improve the functioning of the state-owned entities is thus a thing that we should be able to look at, make sure that we capacitate these entities, but important is that there must be capabilities as we are geared to challenge the challenging issues in front of our people. The recruitment of personnel should not be something that we recruit for the sake of recruiting, but we should be able to look at the capabilities so that the capable state can be able to do smart things and make sure that we are technically inclined in this age of technology. We are capably inclined in the fourth industrial revolution, and there are professionals who are honest and highly ethical cohorts of public servants. Fraud and corruption must be a thing of the past. Honorable members, we should only develop our people through strong developmental state. Today, given the very difficult living conditions our people are experiencing, as has been clearly outlined by the minister here, we have to dig deep into our systems and structures and find quick solutions that will impact positively on these challenges as spoken to. At the center of economic growth and the development of South African people, we need safe, we need secure, efficient, reliable, and affordable transport systems through which we may improve the lives of the people and unleash the potential of our people in making sure that together we grow South Africa. As we move with speed toward the stimulation and recovery of the economy, we are forced to look into, amongst others, the human capital and the entrepreneurial spirits that must be nurtured and make sure that as they act accordingly. Within the transport sector, we are broadly endured to make sure that we have the provincial chapters of women in transport. We infuse youth programs and make sure that they are disabled as we transform this sector. However, we should be able to take into consideration that there's a number of organizations and institutions within transport that are not transformed. Maritime, freight and logistics, rail, aviation are some of the industries that we can talk that we definitely need to fly or to run so that we can be able to transform them. Ladies and gentlemen, the continued development of engineering and other rare technical skills remain an urgent task that in the transport sector we need to deal with. The department has partnership with higher education and training institutions to develop these skills and other related qualifications. We have already seen some of the people here amongst us who belongs and who have been developed so that they can be able to assist us in growing the economy of South Africa. Chairperson, within the maritime transport sector, we see improvement led by government, even more so the continuous professional development program, which has begun to alleviate many of the challenges in terms of training and skills in this sector. The experience afforded by this program assisted unemployed graduates and undergraduates to improve their skills and are seriously and easily marketable. For improvement of this sector, we need to continue to rely and make sure that we are guided by the comprehensive maritime transport policy. The ports regulator is developing favorable regulatory regime which will be able to assist in stimulating and sustaining the growth, especially through ports tariff incentive program to benefit localization and industrialization along the ports of South Africa. Through this intervention, we have successfully reduced the tariffs at the ports by 6.7% in this financial year. I went to be part of the Durban bilaterals in maritime. Oh yes, I went to Durban July with Honorable Malema. In Durban, as we were doing dialogue, we really came across very challenging things of less transformation in the ports and in maritime. And we're looking forward to working very hard to make sure that this is one of the areas where we have to transform. Operation Pakisa has continued to do miracles in developing pathways in maritime sector. And again, we believe that using government programs, we should be able to transform the maritime issues. Since the launch of the Green Strategy, the Department of Transport has made great strides, and in this current financial year, we believe that the country will be able to focus on public awareness to introduce the notion of green economies. And we believe that we should be able to contribute towards the climate change, which is a challenge throughout the world. And in everything that we're doing, we must make sure that we move towards clean transport and green transport so that our economy, as it grows, it doesn't impact on the climate change. Madam Chairperson, let me indicate that the Minister, having spoken to issues of Sandral, I want to commend Sandral on the Horizon 2030, which will help government in making sure that the planning of infrastructure development is seriously focused, and the inclusion of every other as they will be moving towards the rural areas and assisting municipalities is something that we can be able to take pride in. However, we should not be very complacent. What our communities are doing in burning objects on the roads, which are our asset, we need to condemn and call our communities to say it cannot be right that we ban our assets, our heritage, as in roads. Definitely, we do not dispute that there must be a protest, but as protests are happening, we should be able to guard jealously against destroying our assets. Honorable members, I would wish to say that civil aviation is one of those state-owned companies, SACA, ATNS, AXA. These are the examples of what good state-owned enterprises can be like, and we would urge the other state-owned enterprises that are failing to say, Operation Kopa Hinkwaso will not take anything from you. Famban Mia Kopa, Aga Labawan, so that you are able to know how to do good things by just copying, and for sure, it will be for free. every time, Honorable Minister, House Chairperson, and members of this August House, these three entities wins international awards. These three entities wins awards nationally. We want to say that we're congratulating them on the good work, but they can be able to do more than they are doing now. They can be able to do good work. As we have seen AXA developing airports in other African countries and in BRICS, we have seen the good work that ATNS is doing in the continental skies to make sure that the skies are safe. And we have also seen the civil aviation excelling, particularly in the international arena. Honorable members, as I sit down, I need to indicate that there are laws that are in front of the Portfolio Committee. ATNS, AXA, SACA, Road Accident Benefit Scheme, National Land Transport Bill, which we have to speedily deal with, and we support the budget as presented by the Minister of Transport, Ke a leboga.
Nakhensa Mchabiseki. The next speaker is Honorable Swart from the ACDP.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, may we from the ACDP first congratulate you, Minister and Deputy Minister, on your appointment as Transport Minister and Deputy Transport Minister. This is indeed a critical portfolio, given the high number of commuters who either are injured on our roads or who die on our roads and rails every day. Now, I travel on the notorious N2 from Somerset West to Cape Town to Parliament, and 3 weeks ago I came across a collision involving 3 taxis and a sedan. It had just occurred, and I stopped and I called the emergency services, and then I went, and as the passengers were thankfully not seriously injured but traumatized, I spoke to them and I helped them to the side of the road. And it just indicated to me that this is the lived experience of millions of those commuters on a daily basis. This is now on the N2 right here, and I'm sure many of us have seen these incidents. And so we from the ACDP express our deepest condolences to those who have lost loved ones, particularly in the horrific bus collisions. Minister, we've got to do more, and I'm sure we from the ACDP side would like to come alongside you and assist in safety for our citizens. And let us not forget that it's not only commuters that are involved. In the previous Parliament, we had MPs that were killed as well. MPs that were killed on the roads. We remember those incidents as well. And so, Chair, when we also consider the metro rail, the train services, many commuters arrive late, if at all, and they're subject to serious overcrowding. Minister, thank you for also going on the trains and experiencing that at first hand. And the issue relating to torching of trains, again, we saw it yesterday. How is it that so many carriages have been torched and destroyed, yet no one has been convicted of that? And that is something we need to, I've just come from the Justice Portfolio Committee with the NPA, these are issues we need to address. And so the spirit of lawlessness on our roads and rail systems must be addressed and eradicated. That having been said, surely, Minister, it is incomprehensible to allow those who are guilty of reckless and negligent driving, or even driving under the influence of alcohol, to be able to claim under the proposed Road Accident Benefit Scheme, which has to be reintroduced to the 6th Parliament. Is this not, in effect, rewarding criminal behavior? Those persons that cause those collisions will be treated at public and private hospitals, whatever the case may be. But why should they be entitled to claim? And will that not place additional pressure upon the road accident issues and the Road Accident Fund? Honourable Minister, we would like to urge you to involve civil society and faith-based communities. Speak to church leaders. Let them have sermons on road safety and speaking against alcohol, so that we can come alongside and take hands. not only praying for safety on our roads, but also consciously encouraging congregants and
Thank
other
you very
faith-based
much.
that they need to be responsible on their roads. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Swart. Next speaker is Honorable Zungula, ATM.
Honorable Speaker, Minister, firstly, as the ATM, we support and welcome the budget. However, we want to bring to the department a few things. The first one is the issue of the subsidies for the trains. For the taxis, because you have taxis that are transporting almost 70% of the people that use public transport, but they do not get any subsidy versus the buses and the trains as well as the airplanes. Now, it does not make any sense for the taxis not to be supported, whereas you have majority of the citizens that are heavily reliant on the taxis. Again, we need to invest in trains that are used by the commuters. We understand the issue of having a bullet train. However, majority of the citizens are making use of these commuter trains, which sometimes are not working. And the people that are destroying the infrastructure that is used by these trains must be dealt with harshly, because they are destroying infrastructure and they inconvenience a lot of the citizens. Again, there's the issue of the rural roads. We want a situation whereby the people in the rural areas are prioritized in this case, because for them, a road is a matter of accessing essential services like your hospitals and your schools. Now, it can't be that majority of the roads in the rural areas are not prioritized and they are not working. Lastly, Minister, we ask that you deal with the issue of corruption in the licensing process. It cannot be that it is a norm that if you want a license, kufuneka ubhatale intshontsho, because that is affecting a lot of young people who need, after graduating, when they need licenses, not only must they have money to book, to test, must they book, must they hire cars as well as trucks, but they must also budget for intshontsho. Now, it is easy to address that issue because you can do lifestyle audits on the people that do the tests. So with those few words, Minister, we support the budget. Thank you.
Siyabulela Mhlonishwa. Mhlonishwa Mabena from the DA. Kubekisa phambili.
Ngithokoze khulu sihlalo ngilotshisa umuntu osiphambili wehlangano engekule ephikisako umhlonitshwa Mayemana ngekho. The Shadow Minister of Transport, Honorable Chris Hansinga, ngilotshisa nesitshaba sonke. Chairperson, according to Stats SA, 16.3% of the average household's monthly income is spent on transport. This is contained in the Living Conditions Survey of 2014-15, and it paints a bleak picture of the average spending patterns of South Africans, especially the poor and lower income households. The Department of Transport is failing dismally to lessen this burden on the poor. If this was a government led by the Democratic Alliance, the Department of Transport would be doing everything in its power to improve the mobility challenges faced by all South Africans. To date, this is not the case. Currently, the situation is deteriorating and it is becoming near impossible for South Africans to
Honorable
mitigate.
Mabena, can you take your seat? On what rule?
Ilungu elihloniphekileyo lingawuthatha umbuzo kukho into eshisa ibunzi.
Oh, you are, but bafuna ukwazi ukuthi ungawuthatha umbuzo Mhlonishwa Mabena?
No, I won't take the question.
He's not taking the question. Thank you.
Thank you. To date, this is not the case. Currently, the situation is deteriorating and is becoming near impossible for South Africans to mitigate the high cost of transport. Chairperson, the impact that efficient transport has on the ability of all South Africans to maximize their opportunities and reach their full potential can never be overstated. It is for this reason that we believe that our approach to public transport and mobility of citizens should always seek to advance their aspirations. We should seek to connect communities and the world in a way that is a catalyst for development rather than a stumbling block to their resolve. Amahlelo wezokuthutha ahleleke kuhle aletha amathuba omsebenzi athuthukise ne-labor mobility begodu ahlanganisa nemphakathi. Not only that, but it is also a key driver for economic development and transformation. Chairperson, the Department of Transport Annual Performance Plan for the period 2019-20 falls short of adequately addressing the above disparities in a balanced and efficient manner. In fact, the Minister of Transport, Kriel, and his department have proposed to spend 463 million rands on consultants and business advisory services, which is up from 381 million rands in the previous financial year. We can only guess which cadres are going to be at the receiving end of this windfall, to the detriment of all South Africans. This amount, close to R500 million, should instead be used to maintain existing railway infrastructure. Chairperson, another dream that has been shattered is the Moloto Railway Corridor. The Department of Transport has no funded plan whatsoever to implement this project. The Moloto Railway Corridor was nothing but a pipe dream. While the Minister Mbalula sells pipe dreams to the people, his department chose to channel 463 million rands via the express gravy train corridor to consultants, despite the cabinet resolution to reduce the spending on such consultants. Chairperson, another nightmare in this regime of dreams continues to be the e-tolls. The Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project continues to haunt the citizens of Gauteng. The truth is that the ANC uses e-tolls for political expediency and to play on the emotions of all Gauteng residents, especially during election campaigning time. It is time to do the right thing and take decisive action and scrap e-tolls and stop this thing of tweeting to each other. The annual performance plan of the department further notes that SANRAL has shifted money meant for critical maintenance of the non-toll road network to the unsustainable Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project. The state of our provincial and national roads is in complete decay. Our roads have left our citizens prone to more accidents with a loss of lives on a regular basis. Yet the department takes away money meant to service roads in Mpumalanga and channels it straight to e-tolls. This nonsense must come to an end. We must urgently shift our focus to maintaining our provincial and national roads. Chairperson, in conclusion, it is worth noting that of all the 13 cities that are implementing the bus rapid transit system, 4 of them are in DA-led municipalities, being the city of Tshwane, city of Johannesburg, and George. That is the DA difference. We put the interest of all South Africans first. Ngiyathokoza. Bayede.
Siyathokoza Mbuduma. Ilunga elihloniphekile uMangu from the ANC uzaqhubekisa inkulumo mpikisano.
Honorable Chairperson, Minister of Transport, Ministers present, Deputy Ministers present, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Zwane, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen in the gallery, colleagues under the leadership of the Acting DG of Transport, good afternoon. I would fail in my duty if I would not say to the Honorable Mabena, you have disappointed me. You really have disappointed me. Honestly, you didn't, but we will have a cup of coffee about that. At the beginning of the term of this 6th Parliament, we gathered in this house to listen to His Excellency, the President of the Republic, not only lay bare the challenges we face as a people and as a nation, but also challenged all of us to join him and this ANC government in resolving the challenges that lie ahead of us that seem insurmountable. This he did in highlighting the 7 priority areas which we have all heard. I will not repeat. But what is interesting, Honorable Mabena, is that somebody sitting on my left was saying what was a dream has become a nightmare. Indeed, it is a nightmare that you are highlighting. The potholes in Johannesburg, the potholes in Tshwane have never been seen before under the DA government. The Arieng and Reavaya in Johannesburg and Tshwane were implemented by an ANC government. So do not claim very, very small victories here. In giving us the marching orders, the President had this to say, and I quote, "All our programs and policies across all departments and agencies will be directed in pursuit of these overarching tasks that we believe will be able to deliver a better life for all South Africans. Hallelujah. Amen. It is with this backdrop, Honorable Chair, that we proudly stand here as the African National Congress, having been mandated at the ballot boxes by the electorate to take this battle together with Honorable Minister Mbalula and approve this budget vote presented here, and then join ourselves to the clarion call and enlist the transport family to the Tumamina Brigade. Honorable May, I'm very disappointed. I expected you to give us some practical policing with your experience on how to stop the crime on the trains. We were looking forward to your knowledge as a policeman, proudly so, and we still look forward in the portfolio committee. Hallelujah. Honorable Swartz, Honorable Swartz, the accident you saw when you were coming, it's a daily lived experience of black people who were pushed into the periphery of economic activities by mainly people on my left. Hallelujah. We are forever grateful to our forebears who envisioned the South Africa we all aspire to live in. The Constitution also aptly defines what the characteristic occupation of governing institutions should be when enjoining us to, and I quote, improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person and build a united and democratic South Africa able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations. Honorable Chair, our efforts supported by the programs of the Department of Transport, led by the capable Minister of Transport, are aimed at accelerating our efforts to transform the stubborn apartheid character of our roads networks and maritime industry, amongst others, which were from the left side in the main. One of the key objectives of the comprehensive maritime transport policy is to develop South Africa to be an international maritime center in Africa, serving its maritime transport customers in particular and world trade in general. To promote the growth and broaden participation of local entrepreneurs in the shipping industry and marine manufacturing and related services, while vigorously, through incentives and continuous improvement in ship registration, promote the increase of ships under the South African Flag Registry. We welcome, Honorable Chair, the department's plan to conclude a SADC shipping agreement to promote a regionally coordinated coastal shipping. Honorable Chair, the thing you are not listening, and you know listening is a skill, and we'll teach you that. Honorable Chair, some bold, deliberate, and decisive decisions need to be taken if we are to meet these noble policy statements. Is it not time that we offer the buyers and sellers of Mineral Resources Minister shipping services as part of our offering? Is it maybe not the right time to consider a national shipping company to drive a proudly South African agenda and contribute to job creations and contribute towards economic growth? Honorable Chair, the full implementation of the National Ports Act of 2005 can no longer be postponed. We call on all responsible parties to attend to this as a matter of urgency. Honorable Chair, the Maritime Organization, IMO, regulations on low sulfur fuels are coming into force globally on 1st January 2020. You see, we discuss international matters, not just BRT here. Maben, Honorable Maben. What this implies is that all spheres must effectively be required to be ready for this. Honorable Chair, the issue of roads has been spoken about by the Minister and the Honorable Deputy Minister. Safe to say, Minister, we cannot continue pump money into provinces who are continuously reducing their budgets instead of maintaining their roads. We, as the African National Congress, fully support this budget. And in ending, those who claim Nelson Mandela, let's tell you what he said. He said, and I quote, "A winner is a dreamer who never gives up." We will continue dreaming and we will continue winning. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Siyabulela Mhlonishwa Mangu. Ilunga elihloniphekileko ubaba uSibisi thatha iplatform.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister, honorable members of the House, I greet you all. The National Freedom Party welcomes the report of the Portfolio Committee on the Transport Budget vote table here today. Honorable Chairperson, we have seen touching of many train carriages over the past few months. Through this, we have lost valuable resources. Many South Africans have suffered and are still suffering with the public transportation system. The influx of foreign nationals who make use of public transportation must be taken into account when we evaluate the capacity needed to save the people of South Africa. Trains are often overcrowded and under-policed. Several minibus taxi drivers operate without licenses. We have received and seen on social media platforms the dangerous manner in which these taxi drivers operate. Ngqongqoshe i-NFP ithi sifisa ukubona abantu bakithi abamnyama abasembonini yamatekisi besizakala ngokuthi wena nomnyango ubalekelele. Kuphela kwemboni yabantu abamnyama le esiyibona icindezeleka. Kuphela kwemboni la sibona khona obaba nabafowethu abasebenza kuyo benganakiwe. Udaba lwamaphemithi namalayisensi kubonakala nezingqinamba ezinkulu. Njenge-NFP sinxusa ke ukuba umnyango wezokuthutha awube yingxenye yesixazululo kunokuba ube yingxenye yokubacindezela. Awubasize yakheke lemboni njengoba nikwazile ukusiza kwakhiwe o-BRT no-Rea Vaya. Honorable Chairperson, though we welcome the amendments suggested, we do not know if the jobs which the department plans to create will transpire. It is evident that we do need an integrated transport system that upholds the need to improve access to economic opportunities and social space, that will advance economic development, that will improve movements of goods, that will ensure greater mobility of people and goods, and promote regional integration, as it is highlighted in the NDP. PRASA modernization project must meet its objectives to keep management accountable for mismanagement of funds, fraud, and corruption. The department must pay special attention in achieving the integrated system between the national and provincial government. I thank you.
Sithokoze mhlonishwa. Is not here. The next speaker is Honorable Tolashe from the ANC.
Honorable Chairperson, Minister Mbalula, Deputy Minister, Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Members, Department of Transport, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It humbles me to participate in this debate at this time, where people, especially in rural areas, are finding it difficult to access public transport, and some of them are still dying in fatal accidents. Sivile apho baba ethu beqala ukuyibona le ndaba. Samangala, sabona ukuthi iyo le ndaba abantu bevotela u-African National Congress. Ikuthi u-African National Congress uyayazi le ndaba yokuthi abantu bayafa ezindleleni enesixazululo sayo. Le nto yomhlonitshwa ibangwa ukuthi our history has a footprint that the South African public transport was never a priority. However, we must appreciate the brave decision taken by the democratic government to put public transport at the center of the economic development of our country. Ngomhlonitshwa uMbalula no Deputy Minister, sinethemba lokuthi lokuza kwenzeka. In reference to what the President has alluded to in the 2019 June SONA, that, I quote, we must improve the affordability, safety, and integration of commuter transport for low-income households close quote. As ANC, we strongly agree with our president, as most South Africans who use public transport are poor and are also working class, Baba. The ANC manifesto is very clear on public transport that it must be accessible to all and in particular the marginalized. Furthermore, the ANC will invest in rail infrastructure to ensure that it is safe, reliable, integrated with other modes of public transport. Honorable Chairperson, rail must be on the backbone of our public transport system. As ANC, we will be working with the taxi industry, transform the industry by supporting the initiatives that ensures its safety, clean, and provides an equal service, and quality service, As ANC, we will support driver training and ensure industry players participate in the broader transportation agenda. We will modernize the public transport permits to prevent corruption and support the rollout of bus rapid transport systems in the cities such as Buffalo City and Bulugwane. We will, as ANC, invest in public transport infrastructure and support the integration of various modes of transport through a single ticketing system. On administration, Honorable Chairperson, the Department of Transport is working very hard to implement the Auditor General's report, and working together with the committee, it shall achieve greater heights. However, we need to accelerate the transformation regarding gender equity, Honorable Minister. We find ourselves having a department with majority of men in a country where there are millions of capable women. Usibonisile la ukuthi kunamantombazana amahle, afundile, anokungena kulezithuba kahle kakhulu. The Department of Transport, Honorable Chairperson, also had a huge and a strategic task to make sure that it shifts from reducing the administration of the department to actors. The Director Generals and Deputies are mostly on acting basis, and this is delaying the implementation and the progress of the department that we have just articulated. Therefore, the department must appoint all functionaries to the relevant position in order to fast-track the progress in this department. Honorable Chairperson, the Department of Transport and its administration is a sole responsibility of the national government, and it shall remain as such. Sebabona-ke abantu abayiphuphelayo abasafuna ukuzisa amaphandle Bantu stand bewafaka ngewindi by insisting that the rail in the Western Cape must be looked after by a provincial government. Kuliphupha-ke lelo ngoba bazamile nge-8 zakaMeyi abantu bethu ababazwanga ukuthi bathini. This is why, Honorable Chairperson, this is going to remain a dream. Honorable Chairperson, the problem that this administration should deal with is that of consultants. The department is spending a lot of money using consultants, and most of the work is never done. Every now and then, our trains are bent, wires and electric copper are stolen, yet there is security personnel hired by Metro Rail. It is high time that the Department of Transport, Police and State Security meet and discuss to pave a way forward on how to deal with this animal that is destroying our rail system. Honorable Chairperson, our buses are torched whenever there are taxi strikes. This will come to an end if all the responsible stakeholders meet and pave the way forward. Indeed, as ANC, we must grow South Africa together. ANC supports this budget. I thank you.
Siyabonga mama. Mhlonishwa Nonso. I'm sorry for if I'm pronouncing it wrongly. I will learn from the PAC.
Don't worry. Chairperson, Minister, as PAC, we are calling for the sustainable funding of the taxi industry, as this goes a long way in the stability of taxi industry that is responsible for transporting millions of our people. This is one of the few industries that are in the hands of our people. On PRASA, we ought to take a close look at the state of our trains. Firstly, the train stations are not user-friendly to disabled people, and in some instances, not even to the elderly and women. Millions of our people risk their lives as they jump from one side of the station responding to ill-managed timetable announcements. We are calling for the urgent intervention through the injection of resources to better the current state of affairs in our railway stations. As PAC, we would like to call for the immediate renovations of all notorious roads in our country, not because in the Sandowane motto. As PAC, we condemn the insistence of our people that must pay e-tolls. And as PAC, Comrade Somyo, we support the budget. Kudala manager.
Siyabonga. Isikhulumi esilandelayo ke ntate Sihlolo wa ga DA.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you very much indeed. Honorable Minister, less than a month ago, South Africa was embarrassed with the collapse of a bus station roof in Rustenburg. Locally, officials scrambled around. They tried to offer comfort with the message that this bus terminus was not in use, under construction, and that no one was hurt. While the Department of Transport and other stakeholders wish to dust simply the dust on this particular matter, commuters are still struggling to access quality public transport. Fathers wish to get to work. Mothers dream of safely welcoming their kids back home from school, and youngsters hope to explore places they've only heard of from others. Honorable Minister, we cannot simply turn the page on this. The Democratic Alliance regards public transport as one of the most important reform essentials. Coming from the Northwest Province myself, I am ashamed to know that the disappointment people face against the promises of what was said to be delivered in the form of a bus rapid transport program in Rustenburg. From the explanations, Honorable Minister, it might be true that no one was hurt and that the work was stopped as far back as 2017. And now we must talk about international relations. What cannot be walked away from, Honorable Minister, is the fact that millions were spent. Contractors received money, and yet no buses are running. And communities such as those in Tlhabane West, Kriel Park, Rustenburg North remain disconnected to schools, work, and recreation. While many might view the collapsed station as a small incident, it should be regarded as failure to our people. In your view, Honorable Minister, it might be considered a poor choice of a contractor, but in the DA's view, this represents irresponsibility and a complete disregard for the hard tax contributions made by mothers, fathers, my own sister and brother, and it is not acceptable. Numbers, Honorable Minister, and facts reveal that since the start of the Rustenburg bus project in 2005, more than 3 billion was transferred from this Department of Transport to an ANC-controlled municipality with nothing to show for it. Honorable Minister, I'll tell you why this is. Main contractors, they could not deliver because the subcontractors were fired. Various spheres of government could not explore their oversight or exercise their oversight, including your department. The project was supposed to be done in October 2018, then April this year, Maradololo buses. Buses also ordered, Honorable Minister, to the tune of 3.7 million, and it's now discontinued with a new quote that is going to set this particular department 4.4 million rand behind again. Honorable Minister, whilst you are at it, maybe you can respond to the people of Gauteng as to who will pay the billions of rands that they have incurred in the e-toll saga. The people of Gauteng never wanted e-tolls, Honorable Steenhuisen. The people of Gauteng never wanted to pay for a system that is going to cost them money. This will never happen. I want to congratulate the far left right here, the Democratic Alliance, and the residents of Gauteng for fighting e-tolls.
Thank you very much.
E-tolls is gone, and it will be gone under the ANC government. Thank you very much.
Re McDonald, nako ke ya hao.
I won't be using the steps. I think I'm fine. Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Minister of Transport, Honorable Fikile Mbalula, Deputy Minister of Transport, Honorable Dekeledi Magatsi, Honorable Members of Parliament, members of the Portfolio Committee, led by the Honorable Mosebeni Zwane, officials of the Department of Transport, chairpersons and CEOs of transport entities, my special guests and other invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and comrades. As South Africans, we embrace the chance to celebrate Nelson Mandela's life for the whole of July. This gives everyone the opportunity to heed the call to action for people to recognize the individual power to make an imprint and change the world around them. Honourable House Chair, let me assist Honourable Hansinger. To be a shadow minister, you need a bright light. Honourable Fikile Mbalula is the bright light in your life. As far as the passenger rail infrastructure and services are concerned, this ANC government and the department will continue modernizing the South Africans' passenger rail services through Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, PRASA. Focus will be on executing its capital program to about 36 billion rand in the next 3 years. Also, Honourable Hansinger, this is not a dream, it's our plan. Intensifying its repairs and maintenance regime, as well as the improving security on the rail network, which includes CCTV monitoring and spending on footbridges, level crossings, eliminating high-risk level crossings, and improve safety of pedestrians. The government priority is to provide safe and reliable rail travel, especially for the working class. The Sixth Administration will not tolerate the destruction of rail services, which in main are used by the working class and the poor. This act of sabotage amounts to a form of treason perpetrated on the poor. This act of sabotage should be investigated by the security service to determine if there's no any other political agenda and acts in this acts of destruction. Comrade House Chair, there will never be PRASA's modernization program is intended to achieve a higher proportion of numbers of trains originating from South Africa, and in line with government's local content objectives to this end, a target of over 65% local content by the end of the 10-year program has been set. The creation of sustainable and competitive rolling stock manufacturing sector, a strong focus on job creation and a job retention, the transfer and development of rail-related skills to the ownership at contractors and subcontractor level, the use and enhancement of existing entities, plants and workforces where possible, a high priority on safety and reliability of the procured rolling stock. With the recycling program, the ANC-led Sixth Administration will spend 6.82 billion rand in the next 3 years across 3 regions, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal and Western Cape. This investment will bring a modern signalling system which will give PRASA additional operational capacity and improved safety. Over the next 3 years, PRASA will spend 723 million on its ICT systems to implement an automatic ticketing system. As the ANC government, we are leading the 4th industrial revolution. This proposed automated system will improve revenue collection and will reduce the loss of revenue and fraud. PRASA will implement a rescue and recovery plan for Metro Rail to restore its services performance during the 2019-2020 financial year to stabilize the commuter service and the immediate implementation of the requirements of the rapid rolling stock recovery program of 88 train sets for Western Cape, 118 sets for Gauteng and 55 train sets for KwaZulu-Natal, to name a few. These are some of the measures this ANC-led government is making in the next 3 years to ensure PRASA will continue to be the backbone of the public transport system of South Africa. The Airports Company of South Africa, one of the best entities in this department, AXA, has generated more than 9.5 billion rand to the South African economy, supported more than 15,000 direct and indirect jobs, supported 2.8 billion rand in income for its employees and those of its local suppliers. Over the medium term, AXA will continue to focus on the development, management and maintenance of the country's 9 principal airports. These airports are expected to accommodate a total of 65.2 million passengers, departing passengers, and over 800,000 arriving aircraft over the medium-term expenditure framework period. AXA main international gateway airports, Cape Town, Durban and Johannesburg international airports, have been named among the best in the world in the 2019 Skytrax World Airport Awards. Air Travellers voted Cape Town International Airport the best airport in Africa for the 4th year running. Cape Town International Airport ranked 22nd globally, followed by Durban's King Shaka Airport at 29th and Johannesburg's O.R. Tambo International Airport at 33. ANC government-owned aviation entities continue to excel, to deliver world-class services to the citizens of South Africa and our international visitors. Although strides have been made in the transformation of the aviation industry, the proportional representation of Africans, blacks in general, have not yet been achieved. In this 6th ANC-led administration, we will ensure to prioritize the transformation of the aviation industry to be more a reflection of the demographics of South Africa, with key aspects on Africans in general, with specific targets on youth and women, from the unskilled to the captains of the skies. On the continent level, the South African Civil Aviation Authority recognizes the African Union Agenda of 2063, framework for socio-economic transformation of the continent over the next 50 years. One of the aspirations being an integrated continent, politically united and based on ideals of Pan-Africanism and the vision of an Africa's renaissance. The South African Civil Aviation Authority delivers on this continent vision through its continued contribution to the African Civil Aviation Commission. I end this speech with wise words from a great man and a national hero, Nelson Mandela, and I quote, "After climbing a great hill, one only finds there are many more hills to climb." I end quote. As the ANC, I support vote 35. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister will now close the debate.
The DA suggests we merge Transnet and PRASA to stop circulating money between these two entities. We agree that the relationship between PRASA and Transnet is unhealthy, and the money each entity charges the other can be best used in improving the rail operations. The reasons for the separation of passenger rail from freight remain valid, and merging the two entities will achieve nothing but to take us back to the past. The DA's unwillingness to support the RAPS bill, which seeks to address the challenges confronting the RAF, is dishonest and exposes the lie that they are interested in solving the RAF challenges. Because that bill deals with corruption and fraudulent fly-by-night lawyers who seek to use the pain of our people to to enrich themselves. EFF is correct in that the best way to resolve challenges in commuter rail is to buy new trains. The ANC government has invested, listen, EFF, honorable members, 172 billion over the next 2 decades to buy new trains. These trains are being manufactured as we speak in Nigel, in Ekurhuleni, and some are being delivered as we speak to you now. The EFF proposes a build, operate, transfer funding model for infrastructure. In fact, the very 2 roads across the country are funded using exactly that model. The Moloto Road will go beyond speed humps, as you suggested, and will include a number of speed calming measures that include traffic cycles, safe-to-use intersections, and restrict speed limits on certain sections of the road. We must correct the misrepresentation by the EFF that suggests PRASA is unable to pay salaries. PRASA remains liquid, and their ability to pay salaries has never been in question. The recent incident was attributed to a system glitch that saw employees of the rail division getting their salaries a date later. Unlike EFF leaders, photo shoots at the July handicap, my recent trip to Durban was not a vanity project. It was a life-saving exercise, a first of its kind. In terms of scale, the hashtag Live Beyond July campaign was a resounding success. Never before has an interprovincial, multidisciplinary, weekend-long road safety initiative taken place around popular festivities. Well over 100 drunken drivers were arrested. 100 people who, if they had gone on to kill one person each, would have killed 100 people. Moving coffins were pulled off the roads. Vehicles which could have increased the carnage on our roads. This was not a publicity stance, honorable member, unlike your leaders' relationship advice at the July handicap tents. Free transport for learners and the aged. We are finalizing the subsidy policy that will target not the user, including designated groups. It should be noted that there is no such a thing as free transport. Ultimately, it must still be paid for somehow. We need to finalize and address the issue of e-tolls in Gauteng. We are going to address, as we are addressing it now, you've got no responsibility in government, and you don't know how it is to govern. And it is very easy for you to speak out of turn and make a lot of noise because you don't know the challenges of governing. It is not the DA or your sister twin EFF which will resolve the e-tolls and the e-toll issues and the tolling in our roads. It is the governing party, the African National Congress. As you continue to make a lot of noise about what needs to happen, Mabena, we are addressing the issues that confront our nation. The e-toll issue is not an easy matter.
Honorable
It is a
Minister,
matter that requires
Honorable Minister,
decisiveness
Honorable Minister,
on our part.
Please take your seat. Yes, Honorable Steenhuisen.
It's the Honorable Mabena.
I don't know who is talking about.
Honorable
Continue,
Mabena.
Honorable Member. Continue, Honorable Minister.
Honorable Mabena, I want to say to you that, Honorable Mabena, we've got the responsibility to govern and not mislead South Africans. We know as I'm standing here, the issue of the e-tolls is not an easy task. It is a matter.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Your time has now expired. Honorable Member Julius, just take your seat. Thank you very much. Honorable members, that concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise. Thank you.